What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of Commanders Uncovered. I'm your host, Dante, or Debo. First of all, I just want to say I'm very excited to be bringing you guys Commanders content for the Undroppables. For a 22-year-old kid to be making video content like this for an NFL team, for a platform such as the Undroppables, it means a lot. I'm gonna get my feet wet, and we're gonna see where this goes. I'm going to bring a youthful take on the Commanders. I'm a 22-year-old guy. I'm still in college. My room is a mess. That's why I have the green screen here of Adam Peters and Josh Harris. These guys went to work in the offseason, rightfully so. A lot of rebuilding that was needed to be done after the debacle that Dan Snyder left. And before we get into all of that, what a time to be a Commanders fan. No better time than right now with the rebuilding, new coaching staff, new front office, new owner, the whole nine. It's amazing to see how the culture is changing in Washington, and hopefully the on-field production follows suit. But there's a lot to talk about for today's episode. Rightfully so. These guys made a lot of moves. We're going to talk about the free agency moves that the Commanders made, some other moves that they made throughout free agency so far, as well as bringing you guys a mock draft and what I think the Commanders should do. They're in a unique situation picking at 2. It's going to be a quarterback, to be determined who, but let's get right into it. I'm happy to be bringing you guys Commanders content. Roll the intro. All right. Considering that there was a lot of free agents that the Commanders signed, we're going to go in positional order, starting at quarterback, going through running back, receiver, tight end, O-line, and then hitting the defensive side of the ball as well. As you can see, the first guy we're going to talk about here is Marcus Mariota, who's wearing number 0 for the Commanders. Good to see that. Great to see that. Mariota signed a 1-year, $6 million deal worth up to $10 million with incentives to be the backup and mentor to quarterback 1. In my eyes, there's not many better guys to be a backup and a mentor to a rookie coming in to teach him than Marcus Mariota. He's been in the game a while, former number 2 overall pick himself. He knows the pressure that comes with that, and because he lived it. And seeing him coming in as a Commander and just being willing to help anywhere and being willing to help this team produce and help this quarterback get better, it's amazing to see. A lot of people are saying that this signing points to the Commanders drafting Jayden Daniels at 2, considering they have similar play styles. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, and I hope that that's not the case. But we're going to get into that later, trust me, with Jayden Daniels and the other rookie quarterbacks. But in terms of just having a guy who's lived it, who knows what it takes, Marcus Mariota is that guy. Great pickup for the Commanders. And he's going to have an opportunity if that rookie does not perform, goes down with an injury. He's going to have an opportunity to come in and produce with this offense. So it's good to see Marcus Mariota as a Commander and as a backup. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Austin Ekeler, who signed a 2-year deal with the Commanders up to $11.43 million. As you can see here, he's the only running back in the league with 30 rushing TDs and 30 receiving TDs since 2017. Now, I'm not expecting Ekeler to come in and just be as dominant as he was in some years, with the Chargers. He's coming off a year in which he missed some games due to injury. His 3.5 yards per attempt was the lowest in his career. He had 628 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns to go along with 51 receptions for 436 yards and a touchdown. We're not expecting Ekeler to come in and be this special guy. The Commanders, they let Antonio Gibson walk. He obviously signed with New England. And having Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator here, and the kind of plan that he wants, there's going to need to be another guy that needs to come in and pair with Brian Robinson. That was kind of the inkling coming into free agency. No one really expected it to be Austin Ekeler. It was a pleasant surprise. He's extremely productive, and the main thing that we're going to need him to do in this offense with Cliff Kingsbury is to just be a pass catcher, man. Like, this guy is so good out of the backfield. He doesn't need to carry the ball as often as he does, especially with a guy that's young and has produced as Brian Robinson. Cliff Kingsbury, he loves running multiple running backs, and having a guy like Ekeler to come and catch passes is big. He can be a great threat for us out of the backfield, get some screens going. But he's got to be consistent in the pass game for this move to pay off, which he has shown nothing but in his career. Last year, he was a little shaky in both the rushing and pass catching department. But listen, this guy has a proven track record. He can come in and produce. He can be him and Brian Robinson is a great 1-2 punch. Austin Ekeler is a commander, and I'm stoked. And he's only going to help rookie QB1 too. Listen, he's great in pass pro. He can get your blitzing linebackers. He can come pick them up. You can send them on routes. You don't have to send them with little swing routes and screens and other things like that. He can run routes out of the receiver tree. You can send him on angle routes, halfback outs, whatever it may be. The vision that Cliff Kingsbury has for him, I'm sure it's a good one, and just excited to have Austin Ekeler as a commander, as another piece to this offense. Next free agency signing, Zach Ertz is a commander. I skipped over some receivers. Jamison Crowder re-signed. That's not big news. He's been a commander for a while. In the past, comes back last year, is productive in punt returning, can make some plays. They also signed Olamide Zaccheaus a few days ago this week. He can come in and provide depth to the receiver room. He was just with the Eagles last year. He's proven he could be a big play guy here and there. But Zach Ertz is what I really wanted to talk about, signing a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Commanders. This was the first move the Commanders made in the offseason. And for Ertz, he can provide some veteran leadership to this offense as well. Losing Logan Thomas in the tight end room, you bring in another veteran like Zach Ertz. He can be a great veteran leader for this offense, for rookie QB1, and a great security blanket and a proven target who has sure hands, can be good in the red zone, down inside the 10 especially. This guy can get open. He can break in and break out, still at a pretty high level considering his age. And it's good to see Zach Ertz as a commander, both for the leadership and as a security blanket, a safety blanket, reliable target with reliable hands for rookie QB1. Next signing is my boy, Nick Alegretti. I love Nick Alegretti, just his personality, in some of the media I've been seeing of him. He's a funny guy, man, and he's going to bring some energy to this O-line room. He's wearing 67. Now he's not very proven in his time in the NFL. He'll be going into his 6th year, age 28 season. He started 4 games over the past 2 years for the Chiefs. But he's been in that building and knows what it takes to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl. Obviously, in a great situation over there in Kansas City, Grindberg. But having Nick Alegretti just adds competition to the O-line room, a position group that has really, really struggled for the Commanders, especially last season. Sam Howell, the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. or one of them at least, and having a new guys in the room is always good. It's always good, and I'm not going to complain about that. Nick Alegretti, welcome. Next up, one of my favorite signings that Adam Peters and Josh Harris made in the offseason, Tyler Biadasz. Man, reuniting with Dan Quinn, former Cowboy coming over with Dan Quinn to the Commanders. What a pickup. What a pickup. 3-year, $30 million deal for Washington, for Tyler Biadasz. As you can see here in the graphic, this past season, minimum of 300 pass blocks. Tyler Biadasz tied for the 4th lowest pressure rate. This guy is going to be a starter right away for us at the center position. This is from Next Gen Stats. You see at the bottom, Commanders linemen aligned at center allowed a 7.5 pressure rate last season, which was the 6th highest rate in the NFL. Like I mentioned earlier with Nick Alegretti, this position group has really, really struggled, especially last season. And man, having Tyler Biadasz come in and be a Commander coming from the Cowboys, wanting to play for Dan Quinn, and that's what it shows to me. These guys love Dan Quinn. They want to play for him. And there are some other guys who we're going to get into on the other side of the ball too, who are former Cowboys. But Tyler Biadasz is a great pickup for us. Again, addressing the biggest need, in my opinion, for the Commanders, which is that O-line room. This guy's proven he can be successful. Last year, he had a great year, very under the radar year. He's up there with Creed Humphrey, Josh Myers, Ryan Kelly, Tyler Linderbaum. These guys are talked about as the pinnacle of centers in the NFL. Tyler Biadasz, going to be a guy who's going to come in and lead that O-line room, help us a lot. And obviously, he's going to be snapping the ball to rookie QB1 as well. It all goes back to the rookie QB1. They got to protect this guy, whoever it's going to be. They got to make sure that he's got a good center he can communicate with, other guys around him. Put him in a position to succeed. Tyler Biadasz is a signing that is going to do exactly that. Next free agency signing, Dorance Armstrong from Dallas Cowboys as well. 3 years, up to $45 million for Mr. Armstrong. I know this is a shameless plug on my Twitter. I know. You just don't attack me. I know. But I hate to say that I was right. The initial reaction when Dorance Armstrong was signed with the Commanders was, oh my God, $45 million. We're overpaying this guy. This is ridiculous. Let's pump the brakes, okay? Dorance Armstrong, 26 years old, knows what it takes to play in Dan Quinn's system. He's versatile. He can line up anywhere on the defensive line. You can line him up out at edge on a 9 tech. You can move him inside. He had some reps in there at a 3-4 tech, getting pressure against those guards and interior guys in the NFL. He's coming off 2 years in which he had 7.5 sacks last year, 8.5 sacks the year before. People want to play for Dan Quinn. And especially on that side of the ball, it's huge. It is huge to bring in an edge rusher like Dorance Armstrong, who he doesn't have the proven track record as a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young, and doesn't have the name value as those guys who the Commanders both traded away last year at the deadline. But bringing in Dorance Armstrong is big. Like I said, he's versatile, man. This guy can play all over the D line. You can line him up anywhere. He can generate pressure from anywhere. And people want to play for Dan Quinn. This guy's a people's coach. The culture is changing, and you can just see it in these signings, man. And it is so exciting to see. Dorance Armstrong, welcome. Before I talk about Dante Fowler, I really want to show this because these guys are teammates now. ESPN got a good close-up of Dante Fowler connecting with the right hand on Austin Ekeler. This was last season. This was on a Monday Night Football game. And boom! During the pregame, got in a little scuffle there. Yikes. But, man, Dante Fowler, let's get into him a little bit. Like I mentioned countless times already, bringing in familiar faces to Dan Quinn's defense is huge. Dante Fowler is coming off a year in which he had a career-high 14.1% pass rush win rate, according to PFF. And this just adds some more depth to that room who lost some big names. As I mentioned earlier, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. It adds depth and another familiar face. Dan Quinn actually recruited Dante Fowler out of high school to Florida. Obviously, coached him in Dallas and also in Atlanta as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I would assume that they cross paths in Atlanta. Dan Quinn knows this guy. They have a good relationship. Fowler, he had 10 sacks past 2 seasons in Dallas. Um, this is a good rotational pass rusher that the Commanders needed. Again, coming off a great year, an under the radar year in which he had a career high pass rush win rate. Another depth piece for this defense. It's really good to see that. And more guys want to play for Dan Quinn. The culture is changing. The culture is changing. The culture is changing. Do you sense a theme here? The culture is changing, man. And it's good to see. It's good to see. That's all. That's it. It's good to see the culture changing from what it was to what it is now. It's good to see. Dante Fowler. Next guy, and before we talk about Frankie Luvu and the other linebacker who we'll get to, these two signings right here, these two linebackers are two of my favorite signings the Commanders made all offseason. The linebacker room is something that has really struggled for us in years past. Probably the biggest need besides O-line. Jamin Davis has been a nice young piece for us, but bringing in guys who can make plays and fly around the field, man, it is huge to have Frankie Luvu as a Washington Commander. 3-year, $36 million deal. I had to pull up multiple Twitter slides for this guy because people talk about how he stinks in pass coverage and how he is a run stuffer and this or that. He is coming off a season in which he had a career high in combined solo and assist tackles. He had 10 TFLs, 11 quarterback hits, 5.5 sacks. This guy can really get to the quarterback, and he's quick in his rush. He's going to be a great blitzer for us. But other than that, man, again, next gen stats. These are among 68 linebackers, minimum of 25 targets as the nearest defender in coverage during last season. Frankie Luvu was first in the entire NFL in completion percentage and completion percentage over expected allowed. He was also fifth in coverage success rate, third in receptions over expected, at an 11% target rate when he was the nearest defender. So this guy can really cover the pass as well. He had 5 PBUs last year, which was a career high for him. And yeah, Frankie Luvu, man, he's got great speed at the linebacker position. He can fly around, make plays, obviously. And then this was the other one I wanted to pull up. He has the sixth among all linebackers since 2021 in PFF grade. Man, it's really good to have Frankie Luvu around, a guy who's a really hard worker, young player. I believe he is 25 or 26, but man, another young player who really, really flies, runs, and hits. He's going to be a playmaker for us. Love this signing. Love it a lot. Love it a lot. Probably my favorite signing the Commanders made in the offseason. But it's just as good as this next guy. Now, this next guy, Bobby Wagner, I understand it's a 1-year rental. And I understand I'm plugging my Twitter again. I'm really sorry. I know it's shameless, and I'm sorry. Bobby Wagner, he's coming off a year in which he had 96 solo tackles, second most in his career, 11 TFLs, second most in his career, 183 total tackles, most in his career. This guy has all-pro recognition for 10 consecutive seasons is literally unheard of at the linebacker position. This guy is as consistent as it gets, even in his aging and people making fun of him for being old and the Commanders only signing old guys. Forget that. Bobby Wagner is a guy who can produce right away. Even at his age, he can run and hit. And man, he produces at a high level no matter what team he's on when he steps on the field. 10 consecutive seasons, man. I cannot get over that, of how important that is to this defense. It's a 1-year rental, which, it is what it is. And that's probably for the better considering his age and the cap situation. You want to save as much money as you can. And just to piggyback off of the Bobby Wagner stuff, Dan Quinn has spoken so highly of Bobby Wagner, man, and it's really good to see the head coach um, have this to say about Bobby Wagner. Best tackler he's had a chance to coach, man, and given his age and what he's done, it's incredible to have Bobby Wagner in the building. Dan Quinn said, if a team doesn't tackle well, they'll get their ass kicked. So this team is going to be able to tackle. Frankie Luvu, Bobby Wagner, two guys who are going to run and hit at a very high level, and hopefully that's going to prevent us from getting our ass kicked, Coach Quinn. Let's put these guys in a position to succeed and let them do the rest. Final big name free agent that the Commanders signed that I'm going to talk about, Jeremy Chinn, 1-year deal, upwards of $5 million. This guy, he's an interesting case, man, because the trajectory of his career at the start. First of all, let me say this guy is young and he flies around the field, just like Frankie Luvu, who was his teammate in Carolina, and now they're teammates. They reunite in Washington. This guy was second in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting as a rookie. He had two defensive touchdowns that season as a rookie. He's kind of fallen off since then, since his year 2. Year 3 and 4, he's dealt with some injuries and, just not playing as much, not getting as many opportunities. He became a part-time player. This is a fresh start for Jeremy Chinn, and for someone who has shown that he could produce at a high level, this is big to have Jeremy Chinn, man. And like Dan Quinn said, you understand the philosophy. It's you need people who can run and tackle, and if you don't, you're going to get your ass kicked. Jeremy Chinn can do exactly that. He's basically a linebacker that moves like a safety. You can put him at safety, and he can run and roll downhill. Much different to what the Commanders had in Cam Curl, who was damn good in the run, but he was, I would say, better than Jeremy Chinn in pass coverage. We'll see how Jeremy Chinn does in pass coverage. That second level, it's going to be interesting losing Cam Curl and Kendall Fuller and getting some of these young guys some run. But Jeremy Chinn as a rotational guy, he's gonna be a starter. Why am I saying rotational guy? He's gonna start for us, and just another guy who can really run and hit, tackle, cover, break up passes. We just need him to be good and consistent in coverage. But other than that, I like this signing a lot. Now, to wrap it up, I'm not going to get to the mock drafts like I wanted to, just based on time of this episode, but just going to talk a little bit about the draft. The Commanders have 6 picks in the top 100. This is a huge opportunity for the front office and new ownership to really make a mark on this franchise and bring in some guys who are going to help immediately. Obviously, the number 2 pick is the big one, and the quarterback, whether it be Daniels or Drake May. Me personally, I want Drake May. I know a lot of people are hesitant on the North Carolina quarterback. We just lost Sam Howell, and kind of saw how that turned out. He was kind of thrown into the fire a little bit, and I think Drake May is a better football player, and I think he is a better fit for the NFL. But it's going to be all what the front office wants, and a lot of it comes down to Cliff Kingsbury as well, because a guy that's going to fit his system and fit his play style and what he wants. I feel like Jaden Daniels is kind of more of that guy. But I really do hope Drake May is the pick at 2. Other positions that they could address. Some more defensive help's always nice. Getting some younger guys in the room, whether it be linebacker or in the secondary, another corner would be nice. Another safety. More O-line. Obviously, you can never have a shortage of O-linemen in the NFL, especially how good these guys are at rushing the passer and how abysmal the Commanders' O-line was in previous years. And maybe a skill position thrown in there somewhere, a receiver, another young guy. This receiver class is so deep, man, and there are a lot of guys who could produce right away, and you don't got to find those guys in the first or second round. You can find them later. Um, but listen, this is a huge opportunity for Josh Harris and company, Adam Peters, for these guys to really make a splash and have a great offseason and kind of build a lot of momentum going into the season. That number 2 pick is big, and that's what it's going to come down to, is who's the quarterback week 1. And yeah. Other than that, though, guys, that's going to be it for episode 1 of Commanders Uncovered. I really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. And hopefully you follow me with this journey. Follow me on Twitter. Follow the Undroppables. I appreciate the Undroppables for giving me this platform, allowing me the opportunity to cover the Commanders at this capacity. This is amazing. This is amazing. There's going to be a lot to talk about in the next episode. Next episode, I'll do a mock draft. I'll go through a mock draft for the Commanders, and we'll find some other things to talk about, because this is a turning point in the Commanders. The culture, everything is brand new, and it is something that I love to see, considering how miserable it has been at times. Like I said earlier, I'm 22 years old, and there is misery with this franchise when I think of it, and some of the things that have gone on with Dan Snyder, and that could be an episode in itself. But other than that, man, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Episode 1. It was a blast recording this and putting it together. So these two guys, a lot of trust in these two guys, and they're leading us in the right direction already, which is what I love to see. Coach Quinn, man, exciting time to be a Commanders fan. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you.